if we did see the policymakers in China shifting towards perhaps more so supporting the economy towards the end of the year with regards to various policy responses, what is that going to look like in your view, particularly if we see GDP falling as you expect?
Yeah, so I think they're probably gonna eat more with economy slow down more, which means that as I mentioned, in third quarter, GDP growth is gonna drop below 5% in year-on-year terms, and in fourth quarter, it's probably gonna go to 4% in year-on-year terms, right? Which means that at that situation, they're probably gonna do more, including especially increase the loan quota for Chinese banks. So one indicator, investors should watch very closely is the credit growth to see when it's gonna bottom. I think it's probably gonna bottom in fourth quarter this year. And if that's not enough, then they can do more, right? Including ramp up infrastructure spending and probably ultimately, loosen property measures. But they're gonna follow a pecking order, but of stimulus. But in the rest of this year, I don't really expect them to do much.
Okay, so we have the trade picture in focus, which is perhaps now flashing some warning signs. There's growth risks on the horizon. At the same time, the energy crunch also unfolding, and the situation with Evergrande very much in focus as well. What are the most important risks that you're paying attention to right now? Because it appears there's no shortage of them in China right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So I think in third quarter, China was hit by three things. One is the Delta shock, mainly in August, right? COVID is always an uncertainty, although it's hard to forecast the next wave. And the second is on the supply side, the shock, as you mentioned, which mainly coal shortage, energy crunch. I think things could improve a lot in the next 1 or 2 months, given now the government is trying their best to ramp up the coal supply. So I think things should improve a bit on the supply side. But then, I think probably the biggest risk I'm going to say probably from the property side, right? Because on one hand, we see the property market is cooling very rapidly over the past couple months. And on the other hand, we see policymakers still looks pretty calm, and they don't want to loosen property measures too early, right? That means that in the coming months, we're probably going to see property sector to cool down further, and that's why I think next year property probably going to be the biggest headwind to the Chinese economy.
And just picking up on that, Larry, obviously the concern now is the contagion risk if Evergrande doesn't pay up with these debt obligations. But we had the IMF coming out saying it's pretty confident China can handle this. It did say it has fiscal space and they have the legal and institutional framework. Do you think we'll be able to hear from authorities at all as to how they may address this issue?
Yeah, I think there are two risks there. One is systemic risk, or like Lehman moment, Minsky moment. For that risk, I'm pretty sure that the Chinese government has all the measures to prevent the risk. So I think the systemic risk is extremely low. But for contingent risk is clearly there because with Evergrande grab the headline, home buyers definitely going to be more cautious. But at the same time, the government still looks pretty calm at this moment. So which means that probably we're going to see more developers facing this kind of liquidity crunch, right? That's why I'm saying that the contingent risk is definitely there until government responds to that.